So I had like this. I had a guy, he actually schlepped to get here. And he's a good friend, thank God. Because I would feel a lot worse if he wasn't a friend. Basically, I have a brand new mixer. It's a Mac. It's a good brand. Brand new. And as soon as I turned it on, it got fried.
Oh no.
I think it was like a power surge. And when I bought my gear, they told me they suggest I should buy a surge protector, but for audio. So it's a big surge protector. I don't know if these little ones would have worked. I had these little, the 6-in-1s. The 6-in-1s. It didn't do anything. It fried the machine. Of course, when I bought a new mixer, I bought a surge protector. But that was that. He showed up, we set up, we started, we did mic check, and we turned on the camera, and then there's a noise. That was one. I had another one where
so you lost.
It was done. No, we couldn't record. There was no mixer. Then we had another one where I had a conversation with Shmuley Bolsovsky. He's a great guy. We schmoozed for 2.5 hours. I never plugged in the mic to the camera.
Oh no.
So it didn't record audio, only from the camera's mic, which is horrible. You can barely hear anything. We tried using AI to fix it. Adobe has now an AI thing for podcasters where it sounds like this, even if you record from far, but it's so far. It's meant to take a cell phone video, and make it like flat. But it's not meant to take horrible audio that you can't. So that was weeks of trying to use AI and then sending it to a studio to try and edit the noise. I'm not sure if it's any good. I have to listen to it and decide if it's listen worthy. It's like I tend to underestimate the task in my life again and again and again and again. It's my strength because I just do things, but it's definitely my weakness.
Biggest strength.
Yeah, because I just jump into things. I underestimate the task. I don't think of timelines very well. I could create processes easily. Like I'll understand what needs to happen. But in each step of the process, how long it's supposed to take, I'm not very specific.
Hiring like a project manager would help?
If I would? Probably. If someone actually, specifically, that's where experience comes in.
It could be somebody overseas.
So I don't know if that would, I think experience is a big part. Understand that, because now I know what I need to do a lot better. Because as soon as we start, I'm looking if my microphone is plugged in.
Right.
Because I know, right? Anyway, let's talk about business.
Let's go.
Let's talk about well-being in business. Hey, man. Thank you.
Honored to be here.
Same. This is the first conversation I have on camera and probably off camera to really get curious and understand employment and employee office jobs. I don't think I ever had an office job. A little here and there on my own terms. I have office work for myself, but I've never been part of any corporate office. And generally, what I know about it is that people are unhappy and they feel like they're going nowhere.
The people that you talk to are unhappy.
Yeah. So besides what I know of you and from you that is inspiring, I think worth having a conversation is, your own growth and stuff. It's just the fact that you're a corporate guy and you're...
Disclaimer, I'm not a corporate guy.
No. Okay, cancel, scratch that. But you're like in the world, you have an office
I get where
job?
you're going with a corporate, but there's corporate and then there's...
Okay, so tell me.
Enjoyable,
so tell me about it. What's
filled work. There's corporate America where everybody's very, very professional. You're not yourself. You're always trying to climb the ladder of success. Everybody's like, which I understand. I mean, I never worked in corporate America, but I understand there's a lot of competition
like a bank
over
job
there.
And all that. Like
Banks,
bankers.
yeah, in the city, and you go all these big companies, whether it's in financial companies or whatever it is, even like Amazon. So it's a corporate. It's everybody has their numbers that they need to reach, and everybody is there's no.
So the goals are set very competitive and very comparing. Okay, if you're better than them, then you'll get more, and if you're not,
your promotions are based on numbers, and everything is data. And I mean, again, there are certain people there that have passion and are enjoying their job, but a lot of the people are just working towards something not so enjoyable.
Right. But then the country and the world runs on that on those companies. Question is if it needs to. That's my in coaching, very often people want to get out of an unfulfilling position to something that's fulfilling. The question is always like, what I do in my life is always, how do I make this better? Before, like I once heard the 3 B's, better it, barter it, like get it done, but hire someone or an exchange, or bag it. So bag it, for me, like the bag it to, leave is usually after I try bettering it. So my question is always, how do we better it? And with like corporate jobs, it seems like people are just miserable.
I don't think it's the corporate that's the miserable. I think it's the leaders that are making it miserable.
What about?
And if you want to dive right in, let's go. Let's go. This is my passion.
So tell me about it. Tell me what your thoughts are on jobs and careers and.
Yeah. I was just thinking before on the way here, like what message do I want to give? So I have a personal mission, which is that I exist to show up intentionally every day in the things that matter most, so that I can be a steward for what's possible and a loving example to those around me. And a steward for what's possible is I want to show what's possible. And I believe like a lot of people that you talk to, they don't know what's possible. They don't have this vision for what's possible. And a lot of people in the Simche community, especially go into business, they need to make money, right? We have the goyish world, a regular guy out there in the secular world, to make a living. How much do you need to make to survive and thrive? It's like
I actually looked into numbers. So I'm sorry. I told you I do this. I tried.
Yeah, let's go.
I actually looked into it, and the numbers weren't that far, which means I looked into average cost of living in New Jersey. Obviously, not a Jewish search. I know, like growing up, it's like the Yiddish Fleisch, and it costs so expensive, like kosher food and Simchas and Chasen machen Kinder. And I'm looking. I researched the average kosher living in New Jersey. That not kosher. I mean the average household. And I searched family of 2, and that's 4 years ago, before all this, and it was I think 120. And I think the numbers I hear in Heimish circles wasn't that much.
If you make 120, you're not going to make it.
Right.
You're just not going to make it.
I don't think you'll make
drown.
It now.
No.
What about 4 years ago with 2 kids?
Probably also not.
Huh.
Maybe with 2 kids and you don't have a mortgage. Maybe
no, they live with a mortgage. I guess that's.
I don't know where a mortgage here out in Nebraska or
here in New Jersey. I checked. Wow. But okay, so this is what leads me to this whole dead end job thing is like, who makes more? How many people make more than 120? And then okay, so there's definitely value in being an employee.
Where I was going with this was that most business owners are, the reason why I go into business is to make money, right? I need this. They build the asset to produce money, which that's what business is. It's an asset, right? It's like an apartment, right? Real estate. Everyone's going into real estate. Businesses could do better than real estate. It's an asset. It's the same asset like an apartment, like a building, like a property. If you run it well, it's going to produce you a profit.
It'll have a return.
Warren Buffett invests more in businesses than in real estate because businesses can do better than real estate. Real estate does have a cap. Yeah. Businesses, if you know how to operate it well, it will produce you a nice profit. Now, so that's why people go into business, but they don't realize what it takes to run a healthy business, to produce what you want to produce. And then they bring in people to do the job, to produce it, to make the machine work, right? The business is a machine. If you look at it, right?
Yeah.
And then you take those people and you treat them like machines, it's not going to work. You want people that are engaged, passionate, and come to work happy.
If they want to get the best out of people, then treating them like a machine is limiting.
Not going to work. Limiting. Not going to work.
That's the moinam. That's the common relationship between employers and employees is like the employer has this vision and he's laser focused, and generally they have evidence to support in their own head that works, because look where it's got me. And then they want everyone to follow that. Yeah. So if they work around the clock, they want everyone to work around the clock.
Doesn't work. Think of it as a machine. We started talking as a machine. A machine has downtime and needs to have downtime. And every factory, they know there's this machine that's going to produce 1,000, let's say, water bottles after 1,000 water bottles a day. For example, after a certain amount of water bottles, they're going to have to put the machine to sleep. and maintain it. And there's regular maintenance. If you take a machine, if the owner says, no, I want to put out 2,000 water bottles before we stop, you're going to break the machine. If you don't maintain it when it needs to be maintained, it's going to break down. So it's either intentional downtime or, you're going to be forced downtime. So the same thing, a person is like a machine. You're producing, your people are producing, but if you don't give them that downtime.
On the minimum of a person's, the worst part of him, of me is a machine. And then there's creativity and passion and all that good stuff. So even machine minded, it's like without downtime, it doesn't work.
No, that mechanic, those people that need to maintain it, those maintenance guys come and they have a rhythm of when they maintain it. You need to maintain your body. An employer needs to help their employees maintain their body through downtime.
Do you think an employer can give that to their workers if they don't do practice it themselves? Like if they're around the clock people.
Lead by example.
Do you think that's possible even? Because some people choose to work, or I know some people, they choose to literally work 20 hours a day because they want to avoid their life. And that's how it works for everyone. Their wives are somehow used to it and their relationships are set that way.
I think they don't have a vision for anything better.
Right. Is it possible to give that? Did you find employers that can give that type of balance to their employees, even though they're not living by example? Or that's not
usually
realistic?
They're not living by example because they don't believe it's possible. And if I could give that here today, that would be amazing. It is possible.
That's a beautiful way to explain vision.
It is possible. Yeah, I told you on the phone.
In the possibility.
Your effort never exceeds your belief.
Right. Like it can't.
It can't.
It can't
if
go
you
more
if you believe that you could only get to 3 feet from there, your body's not going to move 4 feet. It's not. If you believe you could go 4 feet, you'll go 4 feet.
I've been struggling with a thought in the gym lately. Okay, so my trainer was very good at believing me that I can only go till here. So he brought me till like here. And lately he started bringing me to here. So I'm really having a hard time with this stretch. And my workout is a combination of thinking of the workout and the end, trying to focus on how good it is and struggling through the pain and be like, I'm leaving. I'm either throwing up or about to throw up.
Yeah.
And I'm hating it. And this makes a lot of sense. That's
where coaches come in. They help you with that. They'll push you. They'll give you that belief that you could, and alone you won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
But back to the employers, if they don't believe that they could do it, that they could take off, that they could leave at 6 o'clock and let go, they were not going to give it to the employees.
Yeah. Most of the time. I think some people actually believe that their pain is so unique. That story, like my pain is so unique that it's me, but maybe that's hope for employers. They don't want to give it to themselves, but they can give it to employees. But the truth is, if they believe that it's a better work environment, then it's probably better for them too, and they can deal with whatever's holding back. So it's a rare. You find that your position is rare. Like, first of all, can you talk a little about what you do?
So I work for a company called Yossi G. We do interior design for luxury homes all over New York and even more than that. We do projects. We have projects in Toronto and Florida and Mexico and all over.
And
wherever.
He does the architecture too, or only design?
No, we do architectural work, but not the architectural work as in codes and that area that we usually get from a licensed architect, and we take that and.
So what goes first, the design or the architect?
Depends on a home, on a custom home. Most of the times the designer would go first, and we'll make the layout. We'll design the.
Does it ever not work with the code?
So we'll work. We'll collaborate with the architect.
And do you work with your architect? Is that a thing?
No, usually.
Is it common to work with the architect for design?
What do you mean?
Is it a common
Yeah, you have to work together. You need to work together because interior designers are not licensed in codes, and so we're not going to get approval by the building department, and we're not going to get the permits. So you'll put
out a concept, and then they'll say, "Well, this doesn't work."
The concept is usually not the thing that needs approval. It's usually the space planning that needs approval.
So
we'll make a space planning. We'll send it to the architect.
And they'll
the architect
say
will
what
approve
works and
it.
what
They'll
doesn't.
change the stuff. By now we know a lot of codes, so it'll
come out right or closer
yeah.
to right. And
Right.
you have your own relationships with architect, or the client brings?
Usually the client brings the architect.
So what happens if the architect that the client puts you in touch with is unreachable? Is that a common issue?
It's common, but the way we work and the way our part operates with such tight deadlines and laser focus and efficiency that we bring to the project, usually the client is going to push the architect because they know that, if the architect is going to take their time, their due dates by us are going to move, and they don't want that. We want to stay on date.
Mm.
And if your project goes to sleep, another project is going to come in your place also, right?
Mm.
So
And that was always the case?
that wasn't always the case.
So
no.
it used to be more chasing?
Yeah. Before, let's say 2 years ago, we used to be more, it was just whoever was up, we woke up together with them. And whatever we just had on hand, that's what we worked with.
Mm.
Now we're extremely, extremely scheduled. We know exactly when a project comes in, when it's going to end, every deliverable, when we're going to deliver it, and we usually deliver beforehand.
And you guys order the items too for what you design? You do shopping and all that?
We can do that.
And then you do actual setup? You'll set up the house
We'll do that
and
too.
all that?
It's part of the service. So you choose what's the scope that you want to take us, but we'll do everything for you.
And you oversee the construction?
So we oversee it in the sense of designers. So there's a contractor building it, but we'll be there from the client side, holding them accountable to design, to building it according to the design that the client wanted. So we'll show up once a week, once every 2 weeks, to make sure any issues are resolved, and it's not the framer decided to make here a shaft here and kill our design.
And then later also in like moldings and paint.
Exactly, paint colors.
So you end up don't you end up being literally a construction manager in a sense?
Yeah. Construction administration, that's what we call it. That's like a phase in our project. Yeah.
Because creating a design is one thing, but then it looking the way the vision was and leading up to that nice rendered image that looks so perfect for the fundraiser, but then to actually have it look that way, it surprises me when I see a completed build that actually looks nicer than the 3D thing.
And in luxury homes, people really don't care as much for that rendering. As much as other type of projects, they really want you on site, making sure that their house is designed,
because they
built
know
right.
what it takes to get something. Like the clients know what.
Yeah.
And is this a luxury industry only, or is
we do?
Yeah,
for homes, we don't design just somebody has an apartment needs a renovation.
Right.
It's going to be the high end. Somebody that had a $2 million construction budget and up.
$2 million on interior design.
No, not our fee.
Not
just,
yours, but the merchandise paint. After the walls, like after.
No, even together, we'll take a project that's $2 million, full everything.
That's
and
not too bad for New York.
Yeah, that's our low end. So but then going up, 10,000 square foot homes and up.
Did you plan on this industry? Like, how'd you get this job?
How did I get this job?
You knew you want to have anything to do with interior design?
Yeah. So I worked for 2 years in a HVAC company. I managed the drafting department on high-rise buildings in the city, coordinating where the HVAC is going to go. And I just loved the architecture. Every time the architect used to send in their plans for us to overlay the HVAC to see where ceilings need to be dropped and designs need to be changed, I used to just geek over those plans. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do this. Yeah, and on the computer as well.
It's a movie scene.
Yeah, and I just loved it. And
hard hat.
In the office, I would just on the computer look at every single room, how they shaped it, how they used every place. I'm like, this is the industry that I want, creative. And I love building. I love creating. On my free time, I'm always building. These days, I don't have so much time. I wish I could get back into that. But you were at my parents' house. You saw the swing and the cheers and the sheds and all that.
I didn't remember that was you.
That was me. That was me always when I was a teenager. No.
Wow.
Always building and always creating.
Your brother built too?
He also did, yeah. Huh. We're all creatives, creating stuff.
Wow.
So from there, I was looking for how can I get into this industry. So I took some course online.
Oh, really?
Interior design. I saw architecture is not, it was the architecture in our community, and what everyone was doing was more codes, very technical, and I didn't like that. So
how long ago was that?
So it was 3 years ago.
Wow.
A little
Wow.
more than 3 years ago. Yeah.
I would think it's a decade.
Yeah. Went pretty quick during COVID. A little bit after COVID. Yeah.
And why'd you leave the previous position?
I just didn't want to be busy with duck work the entire day.
And you quit before you had something else?
No. So while I was on the job, every night I used to sit on the computer and do like read architectural stuff and take interior design courses and whatever I could find online. And I just started reaching out to interior designers in the community. You have a job for me, literally messaging them on LinkedIn, on text, email.
Were you on LinkedIn before this job? Were you active on LinkedIn? Because now you are, right?
Actually, a month and a half ago, I put a pause on that. We could get into that at a different conversation. But I was very active for almost a half a year.
But back then, that wasn't your
No,
hobby.
I was just, lurking on there and checking out people and stuff. And
so you reached out to people and
got on the phone.
Any specific position you wanted, or anything
just
to get
me in the door? Get me in the door.
And you had a pay that you wanted to not be less than, or for any price?
I had expenses then. I had already 2 kids then, and I had a salary that I need. But I knew that if I want to get in somewhere, I'm gonna have to take a pay cut.
That's something interesting about passion. That passion first always, which is the concept of the starving artist. It's like
so I got on a call with a few people, and some were promising more, less. Maybe in 2 months, maybe in a month, maybe after.
You simply called without knowing the people. You just called asking for a job.
Yeah, and then I reached out to one guy and I spoke to him, and he's like, "You sound good. I want to interview you." So I met him.
You had a resume?
I had a resume. I made this fancy resume
that looked like it's appropriate for.
And I even got like a cover letter from my previous boss. So that was very nice of him for doing that. I didn't leave as in like a fight or anything. I just, this is not for me. I want something different. So he was okay with that. He understood that. He offered me more money. I said, no money in the world. Am I going to continue doing duck work? This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yeah, so I sent to this guy and we had an interview and we met for an hour and a half. We were talking about everything and anything. And then he had me meet his consultant. And from there, it was just, I started and I got into the office. First day, he put me by a computer. And then he met me. He's like, I don't know why I hired you. I don't know for what position, but I want you here.
And when you had that interview, what were you? Can you recall that conversation? The hour and a half? Everything you spoke about.
Yeah, we were talking about stuff that I did, what he does, what his vision is, showed me some designs, asked me some questions. It was just like a very casual, enjoyable conversation. And I remember the secretary afterwards told me that she was looking like we have glass walls. And she's like, I saw that conversation. It was just so passionate, like 2 people in the room. It's like, this is working out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's interesting that people spend at work a big part of their life.
Yeah.
It's like to not give it the credit that it needs. If I want to be a person that lives with passion and my values, the work environment will affect that. Like if I want to live in a certain way and I spend 8 or 10 hours a day not living the way I want to live, it'll be a problem for me.
It's slavery. It's not living.
So I'm
so that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I'm feeling this. What you're describing is a dream for so many people, and for me in some places in my life. And it's not reality for so many people.
It's not reality for
so many people.
Because you don't have that vision, because you don't think it's possible. And every day I see that with stuff in our business also. Until I saw that being possible in a different company, or I hearing that from a mentor, or reading that in a book, or listening to that on a podcast, I would never pursue it because I didn't know that such a thing exists. I always thought that what I believe is what exists, until I heard a different belief. And then I said, oh, we're going to go after that because that's what I really want.
So I thought that, to rephrase, what you're saying is that you thought that when you believe something, that's what you pursue.
No, until you believe something, you're not going to pursue it.
Right.
So if you don't know, you're saying it's a dream, right? So for you, it's a dream now. Until you're going to believe that this is possible, you're not going to pursue it.
So what I'm noticing is there's a distinction here. What I'm noticing is that there is having a dream and pursuing it, and then having a dream and knowing it's possible and pursuing it, which is a big difference.
I don't think it's possible just to have a dream.
Right. A lot of people dream of ideal jobs, of a pay raise, of
No.
being, business owners, opening up something, living well, connected to themselves, not suffering from their traumas. Believing that I want it is not believing that it can happen. It's a huge difference. That's very, very, very
Is
smart.
belief.
I don't think I ever heard this.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of work around vision, right? In coaching, I do a lot of work around vision. And I know what it's like to not believe in a vision. I never noticed there's such a close and distinct difference between having a vision, believing that I have the vision, but not believing in the vision.
Believing that you have the vision doesn't take a lot to believe you have the vision.
Right.
You have the vision,
It's just so
but believing that it's possible.
Wow.
And then after the belief, taking action. Because you never, this is a line that I heard one of the influencers that stuck on me. You're never going to drift to your desired destination. Again, you're never going to drift to your desired destination.
Growing up Hasidish and then following a system, I know the feeling of not knowing how did I get to where I am. It's like just drifting. It's like, oh, this leads to this and this leads to this. And now we're going to buy this and now we're going to sell that. And it's a very...
But if you have a vision where you want to go, you're never going to get there by just drifting. No. You'll get somewhere by drifting, for sure. A lot of people drift through life. But if you have a desired destination, right, that's that vision, you're never going to get there through drifting. You have to know exactly where you want to get. You need a plan, and you work the plan every single day.
Yeah, the first part is what if. And the second thing you're introducing, which is super cool to me, is actually spending the time and finding the evidence that it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Every step of the way, knowing that it's possible. Not only that it's possible, having that vision that it's possible. And a lot of times it's, borrowing that belief from other people.
What that means, seeing that it works for others.
Yeah. Or other people telling you that it's possible. A lot of times throughout your journey, you're going to need to borrow the belief. You're not going to believe, but you're going to have to borrow the belief from somebody else.
Yeah.
Seeing somebody else that did it, for example, having somebody tell you could do it.
Yeah.
Right. You still don't believe in yourself, but you're doing it because that person believes in you.
Yeah.
But you need that belief.
Yeah.
And then you become very clear on where you're going. Can you take action?
With employment, what I find is the challenge that you need a boss to agree with it, to share the belief or share the vision. And so often bosses say sky's the limit for employees, but not based on the employee, but based on themselves, right? They have a vision as an employer. They have a good buy-in. And there isn't really a clear understanding of how this person working for them actually gets to where they want to get. It ends up being a lot of conflict.
Yeah. Clarity.
Do you think that there is a way through it? I'm thinking of a friend. He works for a company. The owner is very ambitious. He's definitely he pushes and he really gets things going. And this guy working for him is also very ambitious. They spend hours arguing over operation. And it's dysfunctional. For example, this guy wants a work-life balance. The boss doesn't. The boss understands it. He almost agrees to it, but he doesn't practice it. Right. So this is one little, also and obviously this happened, this guy working for him, the employee has a pretty important position. He handles a lot of, and there is no the vibe is awful. And that happens. That's so hard. Often the vibe is awful. And then after 3 months, specifically people that check in with themselves and they check how they feel. They don't just robotically go through. And it's like, okay, what should they do? Put down the boundary, tell the boss that this doesn't work for me, line up another job before they talk to their bosses. It's like, I have a dream of being an employee, even that I want to be the business owner, which I think is there's value in that.
There is, yeah. Less risk.
Yeah, more stability and security.
If you need security.
And there'll always be a cap on how much they can make, right? That's the price to pay.
There's a cap. Yeah, the less risk you put in, like an investment, the more risk, the more return. The business owner is putting in a lot of risk, right? If the business goes down, who puts in the money to cover the loss? Not the employee. Right. Employer. So
so they cap how much they can possibly make in this job.
Unless you get really high and the business has a lot of potential, then you could probably get some profit sharing. But again, every business has its cap.
Right. And then they want the work-life balance. They don't want to be like a never-ending 24/7 kind of work. So what's the next step? Okay, so they have the vision of work-life balance. They have the vision of making whatever they realistically, based on the market, based on their expertise, right? So now what?
Communication
With their bosses.
with their boss, setting expectations.
And if it doesn't work, being willing to walk.
Yeah.
Is that the key in all this? To be willing to go to something else?
I don't think it has to get there. I think just so much communication that's missing in the workplace. It's not easy. I mean, I'm talking about something that's not easy to communicate. Most people have a hard time, and it's a skill that you need to learn. We're not born communicators, right? No one in the hospital, they say, oh, it's a boy, it's a girl. They don't say, oh, it's a communicator, right? It takes a lot of effort to learn communication and open and be able to give feedback. If you're working with a boss, you need a solid relationship.
How does one get to that?
First of all, it has to be two-sided. Like in every relationship, if it's only a one-sided relationship, it's not going to work. It's like anything in marriage, with your children, anything, friends.
I'm thinking back of my being employed days, but I'm thinking also of people that I know and stories that I hear a lot. As soon as it's almost like I feel this conversation is for employers. It's for them to know.
It's both.
Like a lot of it has to do with, it's like, because the employee wants to have, specifically people that check in and they have coaches and they work on themselves. They want to have that conversation. And what happens so much is they get the list of what they're doing wrong. And that's the end of it. That's the dead end. Well, you'll improve yourself. And that's that. Yeah. The bar is this high. And they're like here, as soon as they go into the meeting, they're like, as long as they accept $70,000 a year, I mean, now numbers, then they're the best. But as soon as they want 90, then they become the worthless. Why? Because they can just go the next guy. And they're the people I know, my circles are people that are empathetic and caring. That's their personality.
Yeah.
They really want success in the workplace. They care for their own value and identity. And as soon as they want more money, their value is like, that's not a value. What's the value in that? Like, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And
I don't think the conversation needs to be about money. I think money is the last thing. So like I started before, there needs to be a two-sided. And now that two-sided, you said this is a conversation with the bosses. I think employee can initiate that. I don't know what position in the company, this person that you're talking about, or you're focusing.
I'm focusing of everything I heard. There's so much, like I hear so much of it because it's such a big part of coaching, and I don't know the solution other than following it one's truth. Look here, right? I'm going off for a second, but when I look at someone and I don't have the proof for the vision because I don't have the experience in that field. I do know that open heart and truth always wins. So that's my vision for the person. But I also feel their fear of it just not working, because I so often hear how they go into a conversation to just get a list of things that they're doing wrong. That's the end of it. And then you're replaceable. That's the line in business. You're replaceable. Employees have coaching to know that they're not needy to their workers so they can free-spirited build their business. But then where does it leave it's like, how is this supposed to work?
Yeah. So it does take working for a normal person, a person that puts humans first, right? Think of the word HR, right? Every company has an HR. What is HR? What does it stand for?
Human resources.
What is human resources?
Being resourceful for humans.
Are humans a resource?
Being a resource for the employees. That's what it's meant to be.
Right. But what does those two words mean? It means that these people this department are for the human resource.
Yeah.
So that's already wrong. Humans are not a resource. Humans are the thing in business. And if you treat them like a resource, like a machine, you're already failing. Humans are not a resource. We changed that in our company. I mean, we have an HR department, we call it HR, but that's more like just the person that talks to the lawyer when we need to. In very few.
How many people work for your company?
30.
Wow.
Including
you?
Including me. We call it employee experience, not HR.
But is it a game of words, or is it really
words do make a difference?
Is it a game of words only because the words make a difference, or is it actually a value system that you guys live by?
Sure. We want to make sure the employees have experience.
I'm pretty sure if you're hiring, you're going to get a lot of applicants.
We are hiring, actually. We're only hiring designers, any experienced designers, and it takes a lot to come in. We have between 4 and 6 interviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the expertise and the personality.
A lot more personality than expertise. We want to make sure it's a culture fit. value fit before skills. We had somebody the other day. She was a top designer coming from the top. It just wasn't a culture fit. There was one little thing that made a big difference.
Wow. And so often that's not even a thing. Like people have
you hire from a phone call. How do you hire from a phone call? Of course, you're going to have issues later. But that's a whole different conversation, how to hire.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously ties in. What you're describing is actually valuing people for people and their values.
What our business is here for, we touched on it before. Our business is here to provide to society, to provide to humanity, to provide to culture, or the other way around. It's culture and society and humanity are here to provide to the business to crank out a profit.
Yeah.
If the people are here to crank out a profit for the business owner, you're going to treat humans like cogs in a machine. And when this cog is a square cog and you're trying to push it into a round hole, doesn't work, you're going to try pushing it harder and harder. And if it doesn't work, you're just going to throw it out the window. Right?
Right.
But it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work.
That's a line for the institutions of education, for the whole, pushing people into a place where they don't fit.
And that's the trick. That's really a trick of leaders. I know you're passionate about leadership. I mean, that's what leadership is all about. Taking people from here to there. And that, if you want the biggest return in business, it's not by focusing on short term. And that's where most business owners fail. They look at today, what was my bottom line today? Where's my cash at today? And not at the long run. Of course, you have to look at your cash flow and you have to look at your profit today. Yeah. But there's also the human part.
It's just not a small line. It's their look should be something like this. As long as they're not below this, then they're good.
You have to. Humans are the point. If you get passionate, engaging employees, you're going to get the output is going to be much more than just cranking them and trying to get the most out of them through, abuse. It's just not going to work. But again, it goes back to the vision. Most people don't have the vision that it's possible to be nice to your employees, to treat them like humans.
People are convinced that if they do that, they'll be taken for a ride. People in leadership roles are under the assumption, business leadership roles, they're under the assumption that all people want is $1 and they're just going to be, lied to and screwed over. And
when I hear that, it makes me cry. So sad.
It is really sad because most people I engage are really caring.
So let me give an example. I'm having somebody leave our company for the next 2 months. She's going on maternity leave. What she did the past 4 months for the business she didn't make $1 off of it. And it was just for the business and no one told her to do it. 4 months ago in February, end of February, she came over to me and said that I'm going to be leaving in 4 months on maternity leave. I don't want the business to fail. She does 5 roles in the company. They're not full-time roles, so she acts in 5 different roles. And she said, I want to plan for it right so the company doesn't feel me being out for 2 months. And I said, go for it. I want you to be able to disconnect for 2 months. You're having a baby. I want you to be able to disconnect and not have to look at your phone at once, not have to go on the computer for 2 months. What she did was for the next 4 months, every night, she had like a half an hour or hour, I don't know exactly. And she literally documented every single thing she does for the company, videoed on the screen everything she does.
Wow.
Friday, actually Thursday, she left. She's working from home now until she gives birth. She has to document every single thing that she does, who is going to be taking it over in the company.
Wow.
Every project that's open, where is it up to? Where is it at? And what are the next steps that need to happen?
Wow.
And every single person that needs to take over in that part, who's taking over, is on a paper on a desk. I got that paper.
So it doesn't just happen.
And there's videos and
it's
documented wording what to do for everything. Nobody told her to do it. Why does she want to do it? You know what a loss it would be for me as her leader if she would just leave on Monday not doing that? I didn't tell her to do that. I just told her one thing. I told her, I want you to be able to disconnect for 2 months. I want it for you. You
weren't thinking of what's going to happen if you don't have the systems in place.
I was not thinking for a second.
You were thinking that it's a great idea so she can disconnect.
Yeah. For her benefit. She's a human being.
That's very touching.
I want her to be able to disconnect.
Specifically thinking of postpartum and mother's organization.
Yeah.
That's very, very
I want you to be able to disconnect. What do we need to do? So first of all, we created a vision, right? The vision of disconnecting for 2 months, disconnecting. People like 2 weeks ago, we had like a team huddle and people were like, should we update you? And I was like, no one's updating her anything. She's disconnecting for 2 months. If she wants, she could come in and visit. If she wants, highly advised not to. I want you to total disconnect. I don't want any stresses about the work. And she has a lot of stress from her work. I mean, not stress, but it could.
Responsibility.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibilities. They're not stress at all. Thank God. But that was the vision. You used to be able to disconnect. And how are we going to make that happen? So we had that vision and now we're going to make the plan. And she worked the plan every single day in 4 months. And now she's going and disconnecting. And she's not making $1 for it, but she did it. Why? Because she cares for the company. Why does she care for the company?
Because the company
cares for her. Thinking about it now, it's the biggest success for the business now that she did it. Because nothing's going to fall. No balls are going to be dropped. Because everything is going to just be smoothly. Again, everybody that's taking over has their job. So they're at capacity, but whatever needs to happen is going to happen.
So a lot of this is what I find is that like I call it clean up, like to clean up my act, to clean up my spreadsheets, to clean up my numbers, to clean up the data that's just tons of mistakes. It takes a lot of time and often money for a bigger operation. It can really be costly to transition from a place of everything is extinction, what is it? Like fire extinguishing all day long, all day long, that to a place where things are known and predictable. And, there is like a good amount of certainty in how things work.
Yeah.
And it's like the transition it could be costly. It could be difficult.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Because that's probably the only way to create a work-life balance, because there's no extinguishing all day.
Yeah.
It's probably the only way for a business to have that.
You need to be able to leave 6 o'clock and there's no fires burning. Be able to go on vacation for a week and not. I went to Florida for 5 days. I did not turn on my phone. I'm second in command in the business.
Wow. What's your position?
COO.
Wow.
So I run the entire operations.
Wow.
Everything's under me. I just filter through between the CEO and the business.
And do you deal with clients regularly, or
I don't need to deal with clients? Most clients don't even know I exist.
Really?
Whenever I do need to talk to the clients, like, what's your name? Simcha? Are you new there? No, I'm actually here for 2.5 years. Wow, we never heard from you. Thank God. That means I have good people.
And you know every project in the company.
Every project. I know. I don't know what's going on in every project. I don't want to know what's going on. I trust the people that are there. I give them so much trust. And there's a way I do it, how I give them that trust.
How's that?
Is because I relentlessly communicate the results that I want. And
what happens when it doesn't happen? Like you're noticing that they're looking at you like, what do you want from me?
That means I wasn't clear in the result.
Yeah, but maybe they're just not capable to do it or to understand it or to do it the way you want.
I don't tell them how I want it to done. I didn't say how. I said what. The result is what, not how. That's another place. You should only, if you're a business owner or a leader, the only thing you should care about is what, not how. Why should you care about how? What do you care about how I get it done? You should care about what I get done. And if the what is clear enough, give them the freedom.
People are capable.
Yeah.
Unless they're machines.
Again, unless you didn't hire the right people that are not capable. They need to have the capacity to do it.
Which means someone needs to do duck work and they're sitting in a design studio.
Yeah.
Some people are very meant for, some people are really good with placing things and fastening them.
But that's where hiring goes. If you hire the right people for that position, then you should be able to give them the results and they should be able to run with it and literally have a party every single day because they have the freedom to do it however they want. Again, every result that I delegate, I show them how I figured it out, but I tell them, you don't have to. I'm just, as a leader, I want to give you that gift of telling you my experience, how I got to this result, but I'm giving you the full freedom to rip that paper apart or rip that process apart. And if you get to that result, I really don't care how. And that
this
creates
is so
passion.
difficult for business owners because they think that if it's not done the way they did it, it's going to fail.
Yep.
And they even find evidence because there's always failure in businesses. And they're convinced that the reason why there's failure because it wasn't done this specific way.
How.
It's in the how. And what do you think is that? What if that happens? What if that happens? This guy wants, so you were talking, I want to rewind a little. You were talking that the conversation of a raise is not about a raise. It's about, what is it about if it's not about money?
So first of all, it has to start with a relationship. It has to start with
Which
a
means
relationship between the two people. No, just a relationship, even as a friend, being able to be open with each other, being able to give each other feedback. Most leaders don't know how to give feedback to their employees. It's always harsh. It's not open, friendly, gracefully.
Because they're afraid it'll cost them.
I don't know what it is.
Like good feedback will cost them money.
It's vulnerability. To be able to say, hey, when you do that, when you make that face in the meeting, makes me feel that I said something stupid.
That's that you guys communicate that way?
100%. I have.
That is like
Monday, I'm going to be
mind blowing.
Monday, I'm going to be giving feedback to one of our top leaders that I'm afraid to create a report. This is the words that I'm going to be telling her. I'm afraid to create a report because I'm afraid that I'm going to need to work on eggshells because I know you don't like to be micromanaged. I'm just going to say, I'm afraid. I have fear. I'm not going to say that that's what she's going to do. And I'm going to tell her, I just need you to give me the confidence that you're not going to feel that way. And I'm able to.
That is very healthy. Like I expect that in my home. I don't expect that even in work.
It's the same thing.
I expect it in my coaching practice. That's why I love what I do. But in my business life, I don't expect that because it's like, it takes a lot of emotional well-being to live like that.
Yeah.
Also to know when am I just expecting from the other and when am I, and you know, at home, I really have to spend a lot of time managing my expectations, knowing what's on me and what's on my partner, what's on my wife, what's on my kids. And very often I have these type of expectations of them. And then I notice, well, this one is on me and this one is on me. And really they didn't do anything. It's my story.
It needs to be healthy. It's if you don't, if not
how much time do you spend on the well-being of work and how much do you spend on actual work?
No, we're working. Every hour is work. Yeah, we had a meeting. I have one-on-one meetings with all the people that report to me once a week. At the end of the meeting, a lot of times I'll ask, can you give me feedback as a leader? How can I improve? How could I be better?
You get criticized?
It's not criticism.
You get criticized?
Of course. Because I was open to, I asked them. And most people are afraid in the beginning. And I give them that place that they could tell me as a leader what they feel like. Yeah, last week, I mean, a few times. Yeah. I don't like this that you do. I feel this.
And what do you do?
And they see I act up. First of all, I thank them for it. I like thank them. They see how like I love it. It's like I tell people when you give me feedback, it's like you're giving me a hug.
That is so powerful.
And when you tell that to your people that directly report to you, which usually they come with so much fear about to their leader, you tell them that, it gives them that space. And I actually had an employee. She's a secretary. That she reports to me. And we had this yearly one-on-one meeting that we just, yearly review, nothing about compensation, just creating vision for her in her job, in her position, casting a vision for the company, hearing her feedback about the work. And then I had a whole 20-minute conversation. I asked her at least 10 questions that I provided her before about feedback about me from the past year. And I heard feedback from a different employee saying that employee told her from those sheets that I gave her to prepare, while she was preparing it, hit her like, Simcha really wants to hear from me. This place really wants to hear, and I'm going to talk. And she spoke and I acted on it. And that's from then she became a different person. The passion, the results that she's literally becoming a leader. Like if you come in, you wouldn't think she's a secretary.
Right.
She's doing stuff since that time that she never did. How open she is, how comfortable she is to come into a meeting and stop the meeting, even though it's 3 leaders sitting and saying, well, a client is coming in, we have to stop the meeting. Why? Like she usually, like a secretary would be terrified to do that. But I gave her that space, or to be able to speak up and say when something's bothering her. And what happens if she wouldn't have that space? She wouldn't be performing, but forget the performance. She wouldn't be feeling good. I mean, But if you want to talk about the bottom line, she's not producing how much she could really be producing.
Right. Because that's the difference between humans and machines.
Yeah.
That when they are open and feeling safe, people are very creative.
Yeah. So how much time we spend? We don't spend a lot of time, and it's the little things that make the difference.
With time, it becomes just here and there, and everyone is open. I can recall where my head went to while you just shared that is an annual conversation with an employee I had. And the conversation went awfully bad for my heart. Like I remember closing up after. So he wanted a raise for for the next year, and I finally had my opportunity to share all the things I'm not happy with.
Once a year, you realized?
No, I realize it all year. I just don't want to go down on them.
When do you say it?
Yeah.
Once a year.
So throughout the year, I throw a little, but I don't want to spend my days in criticism. And the truth is that all that happened is he's not a fit for what I was looking for. Because if I want a guy to be 9 o'clock every day I remember this conversation with that specific person, which was years ago. And I'm like, my biggest complaint was times. And his
coming on time.
Yeah, being there on time and like sort of starting at a specific time. And his answer to that was, well, you want me always, so you can't want both. You can't want me to be there 9 o'clock available and also be available all the time, which is like, I like, this is years ago.
Don't say the word 9 o'clock. You're going to turn me on.
What do you mean?
I'm against 9 o'clock.
So what happens when so in this case,
I agree to 9 o'clock, but it's the way we perceive 9 o'clock I feel is wrong.
Yeah. So what happens if someone is in direct contact with a client and they're not reachable at when the client wants to reach them?
So it's not 9 o'clock, it's reachable for the client.
And as an intro level employee, they're not adding value. Then what you did was you started online learning. You increased your what you can give to a work
capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay, maybe they might need to switch jobs. So now they're not an intro because now they know more. And I think that a lot of growth starting, like if we're talking to younger people, like intro positions, it has a lot to do with spending the time to becoming better. Yeah. So I could get a next job.
Yeah. Create the vision where you want to get to and make the plan and work the plan every single day.
So a lot of it has to do with passion in your journey. Yeah. Like you actually followed what you like and you knew that that's going to be valuable.
Yeah. And just keep on adding value whatever company you're working at, just add value, find out what's valuable for this business and just add value. Try to make things better. Try to eliminate your role. Challenge yourself to eliminate your role.
So scary for people. They think that they're going to be, they're not
what's going to happen.
The whole AI thing triggers that in people.
Yeah.
It's like if I actually lean into AI,
come to your boss and say, hey, I figured out, I studied for the past 2 weeks on how we could eliminate my role. If he's smart, he's going to keep you and they say, okay, can you do it for another 3 roles?
Wow.
If he's stupid, call me. I want to hire you. Think out of the box. Just provide value. That's what bosses want. That's what leaders want. They want you to provide. I mean, the more value you bring, the more value we're going to pay you. So
if an employee finds themselves that they need to convince their bosses for their value too much, like other people, like if it's their coaches or their friends, like the feedback they're getting is that it's not, then there's an unhealthy relationship going.
Yeah, there's some expectation that's not being met. If you're in a role that's just overhead.
What does that mean?
That you're an admin role. You're not creating what the company is selling. For example, in our business, if you're not a designer, right, it's just costing the business, right? You're not producing value. You're not a value producing role, right? A secretary is not a value producing role. Again, it's very valuable for the company. It's needed. The company needs it. But at the end of the day, we can't point a dollar to your role.
Overhead.
It goes into overhead. It's the people that are producing it. If you could figure out a way how to produce more for the company, you'll make more money. Mm-hmm. The company's going to want to pay you.
Right.
Because if you're just taking on more and if you keep on saying, well, I need to hire somebody under me, well, we're going to hire more overhead. Right.
Right.
Company doesn't want to do that. You mentioned that before.
Right. With a guy that wants to leave at 6 and his solution is to hire 2 more people, which could be the case.
And sometimes it's needed. And a lot of times the company can handle it. The company, I know some bosses don't like that, but if you have healthy finances, you know how much you could pay for overhead, how much your overhead is.
Which goes all back to, the boss's healthy relationship with his own life. Is to really look at numbers, to really create the biggest vision for himself where things are,
seeing the big picture.
Yeah. Specifically around the return, not just the rest of their relationships, but also the return to really it's like really like, okay, how am I going to have 6 locations if I have now 1? If I can't hire people to oversee if
you couldn't figure out 1, you're not going to figure out 6.
Right.
Yeah. If 1 was a mess, 6 are going to be a mess.
Yeah. What's really hurtful to me is when people actually would pay a lot of money to someone knowing that they want to fire them as soon as their role is filled. Like, I want to get to 6, so I'm hiring this right hand. And as soon as I get to where I am, I'm just going to get rid of them. And I'm going to, 200,000 a year, 250. I know a guy that's on his 3rd round of building up someone else's business. And he got his qualification is a start pay of 220 now. So it was like, used to be like, I think his start pay used to be 160 or 180. What he's good at in his field starts at 220. He's really good at what he does. 2 people are rich thanks to him. Like wealthy. I don't know what the criteria for that is, but they're very, very
financial freedom.
Yeah, they're doing really, really well. And they were in both times like fired as soon as they got to up there, because then everything was systemized and automated.
Right.
And I think that limits an employee from doing their best because they want to be needed. Right. And so there is that risk always, right?
The bigger the risk, the more
this story of this guy to me is an inspiration that, look, you can do it more. And again, maybe that's his position.
That is his position. Create such a position.
Yeah. So now he can go from 220 start
market
pay,
yourself
450 a year because I bring wealth to someone.
Come into a business. I'm here for a year. I'm going to turn your business around and leave. You don't have to hire me. Just opposite. It's a great pitch. I'll come in here for a year, turn the business around and leave.
And people do that. Their position goes from whatever to consulting jobs or like really, really...
Consultants can make... because
of that, because they give so much value and so little time and they're going to be fired once their position is filled.
But do that intentionally. You're endless, like where your possibilities.
It's wild. It's wild what happens to relationships if we go a little bit away from the work environment. Yeah. I see where we're talking about good relationships can like be a turn off to people that, like, to employers or business owners, that their focus is the business to do well and not to provide just to provide a healing environment for people's people to feel good. I can see where talking about the holistic view is sort of a turn off when we're talking numbers. I can see that.
But it's not. I'm focused on numbers as much as anybody, probably even more because of that. Because I don't have to focus on anything else. I know that my people are so passionate and they're so sold. They each own their responsibilities so strongly. I know that any one of my employees will wake up at 12 o'clock at night and do whatever needs to be done. They don't do it because they don't need to.
Right.
But because that, I could focus the rest of the day on the numbers, on the important stuff.
Right.
But if the entire day I'm scared of who knows what my employee is going to do behind my back, who he's talking to, who's reaching out to him.
That's also a thing. Like
I don't have any stress.
I think in the Frum circles, there's a lot of paranoia because everyone wants to open a business. Like, people are always stressed out that their employees are going to go and do this.
Yeah. Are they going to leave? Who knows? Are they doing their job? And then it was micromanaging. I don't have that. I literally don't need to talk to my the people that report to me. I talk to them once a week. Again, I say, hello, hi, how are you if they need it? But like officially meeting,
you don't have to
once a week. And we review the results that I gave them to do. And I let go.
Right.
And the rest of the week I could chill and do what I need to do for the business.
Which is really the power of not being scared. It's like, I have a coach that would always ask me when I had decisions to make. It's like, when you want to do this, are you doing this out of fear or out of love? I mean, at first when he said love, it was so cliche and like out of love. But, and also he uses the word open-hearted, and all these words were like, it's bothering me because we're talking about real things. And with time, I learned what it's like to do things. It's just feeling okay. That's what we're talking about. To not be in fight or flight response all the time. It's not some guru thing or some, it's very practical. Am I doing this out of fear? Am I doing this out of love to the world and life? It's really, really simple. Am I more angry or am I more joyful? Yeah. That's really the question.
And if you do work for somebody that doesn't appreciate all this and doesn't value all this, there are people out there that do, and go find them. And again, there might be a period of time that you're going to have to work for somebody that it doesn't value this.
Right. And I learned to add value.
Yeah.
To
add value.
Yeah.
And
it's a very good in Mahalach. I really like it.
And then go out there and find the place that does value you.
Right.
Because there is out there. But if you don't believe if you don't have the belief that it's possible, that there are businesses that do operate that way, you're not even going to put in the effort, right?
Right.
Your effort never exceeds your belief, right? So you're never going to put in the effort to go look for that because you don't think it's possible. All businesses are this way. All bosses are this way.
Right.
No, it's not true. I know many
like
bosses.
all people are here to get you, all those lines. It's not true. So many people I know are wonderful and they actually care.
I could list out so many business owners that really, really care.
Yeah.
And they care for the money. I don't want people to think that they don't care for the money, and they're making money. They make a lot of money, and they're
just patient about it. They're patient
everything's about patience.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen tomorrow.
Do you think recruiters are like, who are recruiters really? It is a generalized question.
Who's the customer?
Yeah. Who's really the customer? The owner that's dysfunctional. They just need people and they need the recruiter to pitch it to the employee that they can't get more than $40,000 a year if they want stability, or do they work for the people? Do they see them and their light?
I don't know. I don't work with recruiters.
How do you find people?
We find
word
people.
of mouth.
The word of mouth, which helps a lot. If you have a good culture, that's where it goes also. We have a lot of people like referring, right? Like people are telling their friends about, like, come work here. You're going to love it, right? Why? How does that happen? If your employees hate their job, they're not going to tell other people come here, right? You don't need to pay 20% to recruiters.
I think recruiters are in a powerful position to help shift these a little bit bigger businesses that rely on recruiters. They have the power to tell them how it is and talk about important values. Maybe host.
Recruiters could be very good. And recruiters could be very helpful for positions, like higher up positions.
Yeah. Like I know someone that I refer to clients that he's really good. I think he actually cares about the people a lot. I also think he's in a tough position because so many bigger businesses that have a lot of opportunities for intro positions don't have vision for them.
Right.
So he needs to constantly tell people how to lower their expectations.
Right.
And I think that what you're introducing is both. Take the intro position, add value, and go for another one.
Or stay there.
Yeah.
If you're adding enough value, you should be able to grow within.
I'm talking about an environment of like, I think that a lot of people show it to me when it's a dead end, like in coaching, it's a dead end. So a lot of the dead end is because the environment is just not healthy.
Oh.
So then add value, move on. I'm talking to my sister. We're talking about like, she's pursuing a real corporate career. And like, I don't know what it is. It's like not the web development. It's like cybersecurity. That's her field. She's graduating, I think, in another year. So we're talking about how much of well-being in work has to do with really knowing when to leave. It's like, I'll attract the wrong stuff in my life and I got to know how to balance.
I don't think you have to leave all the time. It's not.
No, for sure not. But when it doesn't work, to have this fear that no one else will hire me is just not true.
That's not true. And I do think if you have a boss or a leader that is a mensch, and somebody you could talk to, even if they don't practice everything that we say, there is conversations that you could have to change it. Patrick Lencioni, he's a big writer in books for employee engagement and culture in the office. And he wrote a book that he talks about the three most important things for employee engagement. And if you're missing that, people are going to be, it's like the three things that create a miserable job. One is anonymity, irrelevance, and immeasurement. Anonymity is when the employee feels that he's just a number. I'm anonymous. No one cares about me. Nobody knows that I exist. So many people feel that way. And the opposite, in the healthy businesses, people feel like they're a person. Right? I'll ask my employees how they're doing, how's their life, and discuss that. Sometimes if they need help there, I'll coach them in that area also. So they're a person, they feel like they exist. So that's anonymity. Irrelevance is they feel that whatever they're working no one cares about it. It doesn't make a difference. I don't make a difference. When I don't make a difference, I'm going to be miserable. And when I'm going to be miserable,
that's irrelevance as they can be replaced, or irrelevance on the work that they do.
The work that I do. The work that I do does not, they don't see a straight line to something that matters. I'm making an impact. It could be serving the customer. It could be even serving the business. Yeah. But I want to see that that I make a difference. My work that I'm doing every day makes a difference. And if you could provide that, that's amazing. And in measurement, I can't measure if I'm successful or not. So those are the three signs of a miserable job. When those three are missing, you're going to be miserable. no matter what, if you make $1 million or $2 million a year paycheck, if you're missing, if you feel you're anonymous in the business, if you feel that your work doesn't make a difference, irrelevant, and a measurement, you can't measure constantly every day. You matter, yeah. That's anonymity, and yes. And in measurement is that I can't measure my success every single day.
Right.
I can only measure it when they talk about payment, then it's going to be miserable. But the opposite, right? If that's going to create misery, those three stuff also create passion. It creates engagement. If you could provide for your employees that they do exist, just ask them, like you're talking to them, if you're having your one-on-one once a week or once a month, how are you? Just ask them, how are you? How are you really? Like, what's going on in your life?
Yeah.
Out of work. How's life going? Beautiful. Just asking that question. It shows the person they exist. That's number one. The second one is relevance, right? But if you can show the person that they make a difference, like just show them once a month at least, or if you could once a week or every day, where their work makes a difference.
Either clients or the business.
Show that, tell them, I just spoke to a client. You don't know what you changed their life by just that phone call that you had, or you created this, we sold this, it changed this person's life. In the smallest thing, where does even though, I don't know, if even you're a janitor, you clean the floors, it makes people enjoy being here, whatever it is. So my work makes a difference. And in measurement, set expectations, be very, very clear on what you expect from them.
And then so there are wins.
Yeah, so they know constant when wins. They're winning.
Beautiful.
It doesn't have to be constant winning. It could be I'm working towards a win.
Yeah.
But
small goals.
Yeah,
breaking it down.
But clarify what is that result that you're expecting from your employee, so they could always measure if I'm reaching that. And if you're an employee, you could request that from your boss. Please tell me, what does success look like in my role? And then you could always measure if you're succeeding or not. And that's going to change it from a miserable job to a non-miserable job. And when you have non-miserable people, which is really called passionate people, passion is going to blow your business.
So much is spent on client retainment. This is client retainment.
Who's talking to your clients? Not you.
Yeah.
The people that are picking up the phone.
If they're passionate and their mood is good and their clients just enjoy this.
Most CEOs don't talk to their clients. It's the frontline employees that are talking to the clients every single day. And if they're not passionate, if they're not motivated, your clients are not going to like you.
Yeah, I really think that what you're doing is super, super, super powerful. You know, there's so much ayahuasca happening to create well-being. And then the bridge between, you know, what someone sees in a one night psychedelic experience of what the world could be, and then going into work where there's so much misery and it's almost traumatizing for people. Your words and your vision and your belief in what's possible is really, really, really hopeful. And I'm uplifted by knowing that you're holding this vision and you're really seeing this possible everywhere.
It's possible. And it's possible to make a lot of money with it.
Yeah.
It's not the cost of money.
Bridge. Yeah. That's the bridge that you have, that it's not like, as soon as you create a healthy work environment, you're like, it becomes a nonprofit. That's how some people look at it.
Wrong.
And it's not.
If you do it smart, you got to do it smart.
Yeah.
Don't start, I don't know, spending, you don't have to spend a penny on asking somebody, how are you?
Right.
It doesn't cost.
Yeah.
It takes a minute.
On that note, do you do coaching work?
I do consult people. People call me. We have conversations on the phone. And
you do this for hire? You have a career in that too?
On the side.
Cool. So I'm going to share some info, maybe your email. And you're back on Instagram, or you're not Insta.
You could reach me on LinkedIn. I jump on there here and there, so you can message me on LinkedIn.
It's good to be in.
But I'm not posting regularly.
The way you did.
Yeah, taking a little break.
Cool.
Focusing on the business now. There are some big changes happening, so it needs my intense focus.
Thank you so much for this. I knew I would love it.